Welcome to Point High Book Club for January, first one of the year. Whoop whoop. And it was the Forbidden Game, number 3, The Kill. So we finally finished off this trilogy. I did it quicker than we did it before when we waited like a year to read the second one. Yay! So I'm just going to add Amy in, who is our very special guest and my lovely, lovely friend. Let me add her in. Hi everyone. Hi Heather. Hi Kelly. Hi Sharon. Hi Karen. Hi Kirsty. Oh, loads of people. Hi Tam. Hi Daddy. Oh dear. Hopefully Amy will be here. Have I done it right? It's always a risk. Hello.
Hi.
I always doubt myself and I think, have I added people correctly? Oh, you okay?
Yeah, fine.
Oh.
As I was just saying to Shelley, I've just got my little boy to bed 1 minute ago. Normally goes on a lot earlier, and I thought it's typical. The night that I need to be ready, I'm not.
Oh, is he all settled now?
Yeah, just about, I think. Hopefully, if not, I've got Kev on hand to top up that.
Oh, bless him. Oh, he's so sweet, though.
Yeah.
It's like a little angel.
Yeah.
Oh, yay, it's Point Holiday, Marzipan Pony says. Woohoo! So I was just saying, yeah, we finally have read the last one in the trilogy.
Also, can we have more?
I know, we need more. Sad. I'm a little sad. But if you don't know, Amy McCaw is a brilliant YA author of Mina and the Undead and Mina and the Slayers, and also this fab anthology, A Taste of Darkness, which is like, it's got so many good stories in here. I loved it. It was brilliant. And upcoming, you've got your third book in the Mina trilogy, which is Mina and the Cult. So you know all about writing trilogies.
Love it. As I was reading it, I was thinking that, like, what parallels are there in third books in trilogies? Because when I think of things like, Twilight ended up being 4 books, didn't it? But things like the Hunger Games and the Divergent trilogy, it's quite interesting to think about that story arc going through the 3 books.
Yeah, definitely. And did you say, you told me the other night it just gone to print now, Mina and the
On
Cult?
Monday, yeah, it's going to print. So I've officially handed it into the publisher now, and it's like off my plate. And we had a little email chain on Friday where everybody said, yes, I'm happy, yes, I'm happy, and everybody's signed it off now. So
Oh, exciting! So we'll have it soon. I can't wait. When does it come out again? Just remind me, Annie.
beginning of April is the first Thursday in April. I think it's the 4th. I always forget because the first of April, like April Fools, and then they always do it on a Thursday, so it's always like the closest Thursday to the beginning of the month with UClan.
Yeah, and Tam's put, will the third be the last in the series?
That was always the plan. I can't. There's no news that I'm hiding or anything. This story arc is completed anyway, but no, I don't have secret news for you at this point, I'm afraid.
Hopefully soon. We're living hope.
Me too.
But you're writing some other stuff as well, aren't you? So I don't know
Yeah,
if you can talk about
always.
that or not.
To be honest, it's not that I can't talk about stuff. I just don't tend to. It feels like tempting fate before a book
Yeah.
to talk about it for me. I'm a bit superstitious. I don't like to talk about things when I think I talk about them to a trusted few. I've talked to you. I don't know if I've talked about this one because it's still forming in my brain, but there's also a few people I bounce stuff off. I bounce stuff off you and Mia and Kev. And my age, that's about it.
Oh, it's always exciting when I hear a new Amy idea. I'm like, yes.
To hear this one.
Oh.
It's like more of the same, but it's what's that expression? The more things change, the more things stay the same. It's like that. Some things are different, some things are the same.
Oh, I like it. And Karen's put, I've now read the first book of Mina, so everyone who yelled at me last time, I'm all caught up. No, Karen,
Really sorry,
you
Karen.
haven't read the second book, Karen. Mina and the Slayers. That's the next one.
She did pretty well. She did her homework from last time.
I love you, Karen. Oh dear. Yes, so we'll crack on with chatting about this third book. So this is book 3 in the Forbidden Game trilogy. So The Kill, and it kicks off right where the chase left off, which I kind of love because the 3 books are kind of meant to be set over a month, I think. I think it's what it said in this one anyway. And I thought, oh, I like a bit of a timeline. Karen's just brought Mina and the Slayers now. So basically, at the end of the chase, Julian says, if you want them, so basically, Zach and Tom. I nearly said Zach and Paul then, I don't know why.
Paul.
Zach and Tom, random
Just add
character.
in the mix.
So basically, yeah, Zach and Tom have kind of been like kidnapped by Julian essentially. And Julian says, if you want them, come on a treasure hunt. But remember, if you lose, there's the devil to pay. So that's what kind of happened at the end of the chase. So Jenny D, Audrey, and Michael. That's right. I don't know what I'm doubting myself tonight with names. There's just so many characters.
And then ones that we thought were dead have come back.
Yeah.
Alert, everyone.
Yeah, spoilers. But yes, spoiler warning. Thank you for reminding me, Amy, because I always forget to say it. But yeah, so they're about to step out of their comfort zone and do just that, go on a treasure hunt. So they leave their families behind to enter the shadow world with a set of runes, magical letters that open doors of hell. And basically they're lost in an amusement park nightmare at Julian's mercy, all just looking for Tom and Zach, basically. Yeah. They're going for their friends. So it kind of kicks off with Jenny leaving her hometown and like heading off and going to her granddad's house in Pennsylvania where she grew up when she was younger. And they go on this plane ride, which they just act super suspicious.
No. Nobody look at us. We're not terrorists or anything suspicious at all. Like, we're not going to do anything to this plane, I swear.
Yeah, oh,
they'd have been hauled off within 5 seconds, wouldn't they?
The worst thing was, like, later on in the book, they mentioned that they brought this crowbar and this, like, Swiss Army knife. And I'm like, no wonder they were, like, paranoid on the plane.
That Totally Killer that I said I watched the other night. I love the fact that in that she kept referring to the 80s, and it did make me think of point horror books, like, because it was the 80s, like she kept trying to have these elaborate plots and people were just like, no, yeah, it's cool, just look around my workplace, it's fine.
Oh yeah, Sharon's put the plane journey was hysterical. I think, like,
funny to me, I was trying to count how many times Jenny's fingertips tingled. Why did she have tingly fingertips? Did her fingertips tingle in the other books? Because I don't remember this.
I don't remember it. Like, she had very tingly fingers.
3 incidents of it. I did count through the book, and I was a bit concerned for her, actually. I don't know whether she needs to get checked out after this series.
She didn't mention it later on, though, did she? It was literally like the first bit of the book, and about 3 or 4 times at the start. Oh dear.
Love
yes, definitely.
For stuff like that. Like, I love spotting the random things that modern editors would just go, no, that doesn't happen, take it out. And in the 90s, like, yeah, tingly fingers, that sounds fine. Like, mushroom skin. Well, that was our favourite last time, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And anything goes.
I found, well, they were talking like a couple of French phrases in this one as well, and it was kind of referenced that was brought up before, but I don't remember.
Audrey. It's Audrey. I always want to call it Aubrey. It's Audrey, isn't it?
Yeah.
Audrey always did it, but weirdly Dee started doing it in this.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, okay.
No, definitely it was always Audrey, because I thought that was weird.
Yeah.
But yeah, like she's sort of pulled her friends into that for some reason.
Yeah, I thought it was. I was like, I don't remember this. It was a bit random. Just quick, Eddie May put finally got to the first Mina too, and wow, it was brilliant, making time to read the second one. And Kirsty just reminded me, thank you, Kirsty, that there is a vampire book club that Kirsty's hosting. So if you need to read the first Mina book or the second Mina book, then you can read along with Kirsty's read along. So I'll post a little link to it. And Sharon's put, I love this story, the best of the 3 in my opinion. So I'm going to ask you later, Amy, for which one was your favourite. So
I'll save it till
we'll see. So Eddie May's put the Kill was my favourite out of the 3. Karen's put, you know what, some of the book covers of Julian did not make him look like a lean Chris Hemsworth, and I'm a little sad about it.
I love the ones that we had in the 90s, the ones that I still have now, the eyes, like, they're my favourite.
The eyes, so
Although
sinister.
I like the binder I've got as well that looks like a labyrinth kind of cover. It
Oh
looks a bit
yeah, I've
beyond.
because I saw your one because I used that photo. I've ordered myself a copy because I was like, oh, it's so good.
It's cool, isn't it? I've had that
Yeah.
absolutely ages. I think it was like a random, really cheap purchase at some point. You know, and you're scanning through eBay for point horrors, and that came up, and I thought, come on, I need
Mm.
to have the collection.
Oh, it's amazing. Mars Pamponi said, I liked how in the beginning of this one, they're all like, everyone knows we're high school students running away. But then all the adults are like, meh, whatever.
Yeah, just unsupervised teenagers.
They
It's all
didn't
right.
care. Yeah. Sharon said, tingly fingers is the first sign of a stroke. Oh,
Maybe Jenny
poor
needs to
Jenny.
be careful of the tingly.
Yeah. Definitely. Oh dear. And Karen put, I loved when Dee was all, yeah, I can say random foreign language phrases too. and A is all righty. So Audrey's like, all righty. And Kelly put, each book has to remind us that Michael is like a
I
teddy
know.
bear. Audrey Audrey is well travelled and speaks languages and has spiky bangs, and Dee is like a panther. As if we didn't know, they'd have to remind us all the time. I have got a favourite Michael moment in this one. So in the chase, Michael's the one who got sucked down the toilet, right?
Yeah.
Well, in this one, I have got a favourite Michael moment I will share in a little bit. But
Oh, Michael, he really gets a bum deal, doesn't he? Like everybody else seems quite cool, and he just seems like he's the punchline to every joke. Michael, he's like he really puts up with a lot with Audrey. I think he deserves some.
yeah, I've got, oh dear, I had to put the book down. I was laughing that much at this Michael moment. It's like a blink and you
Remember
miss it, I
it?
think. I'll bring it up in a minute. So so with the characters like kind of taken out of their comfort zone, like do you think that's like an interesting way to start a trilogy? Like, would you do that?
Absolutely love it. And funnily enough, the third book, Mina book, might start in a different setting.
Ooh.
So yeah, I love that because I think my main peeve with trilogies, pet peeve, is when they're really one note all the way through. Like I think there's a balance because you want to give readers the set like more of what they want, but also I think you've got to change things up and up the ante to keep it interesting and to make it not feel really predictable. So yeah, I thought that was a great idea. I like the fact how it bookended, the fact that Jenny's story with the shadow world began with accidentally stumbling across this door. I like the fact that she returned to it and that was her way back in. I thought that was really neat. I think LJ Smith is really good at like drawing parallels and keeping things going. Like she does it in the Vampire Diaries books too and in the Night World ones.
Yeah, I need to read those definitely after reading these. She's got such a good writing style. It just draws you in,
Yeah,
like
I think these are my
really good.
favorite certainly. Like I think that the other ones, maybe having watched the Vampire Diaries series, the books feel a bit more dated to me. Whereas like they could, apart from a few, suspect descriptions of characters, which, the 90s,
Yeah,
they feel quite modern. Like, they don't have mobile phones and stuff, but the stories feel
yeah.
like there's not that many books like them, I don't
No,
think.
no, no, I definitely need to check those out. And obviously you mentioned about that they were going back to where the granddad's house was with the door, and obviously they play around with the runes idea, which was brought up in book one, but they never really mentioned it again in book two, or maybe just a passing thing. So did you like that aspect when they were drawing all the runes and the
I
blood that they're having to put in?
I love the fact that there is this whole mythology of the shadow world and that it sort of makes sense with like the myths, certain myths of our world. I think it's Norse mythology, isn't it? And I think that LJ Smith took bits of it and kind of twisted it and turned it on its head. Like particularly there was a bit with the Tree of Life bit where I was
Oh
talking about like
yeah.
I thought that she was really clever. Like, and because to me, too much fantasy. I know you're the same. Just totally switches my brain off, and I can't digest it all. It's like indigestible food. Um, but I found that just really helped to hook me into understanding because when it's another world, you've got to have something concrete to hook it to, and the mythology did that for me. And I love the fact that it's the blood, like a little bit of a sacrifice. I just thought was great.
Yeah, I really liked it as well. Like you said, if it gets too fantasy, I do switch my brain off a little bit. But this was just enough to keep me like hooked and thinking, oh, I kind of like this. And finding out what all the different symbols meant and things. And
I was slightly when Jenny didn't bleed at one point, didn't she just draw it in the water?
oh
And I was like, it works
yeah,
now. You're just magic now, Jenny, like with no blood.
it's her golden
Yeah,
hair. It's giving
hair
them.
funny in
Oh
sunlight. Don't
yes.
forget. English in sunlight hair.
It's that's what's done it.
That's what Julian goes for, obviously.
Marzipan ponies put poor Michael. Oh, this is mean. He's fat and ugly, and no one likes him, not even his girlfriend. Oh. And then Eddie May's put Michael finally got his girl to admit she's in love with him for real though in this one. Go Michael. Yeah. Cameron put, is there a secret crossover between this series and the Tom Hanks movie Big, starring Jenny's grandpa as Zoltar? If not, why not?
There was definitely a big feel
Yeah.
to it. And I like that. I mean, as you know, I like a bit of a pop culture reference.
Yeah.
And I like they're explicit and ones that aren't. Like a mixture of them is like my sweet spot.
Because as soon as that was mentioned with like the wizard in the box, that's exactly what you think of as Big. Well, I did straight away. I thought, oh,
it was really funny. Stuff like that you'd think I would remember, but I didn't. And some things I predicted, and I was like, have I pulled that from the recess of my memory, or I'm actually predicting it anew? But there were only a couple of things I remembered about this book, and the rest of it, I think I found the ending too sad that I didn't read it that many times.
Oh yeah, I actually
it
was sad.
I cried at the end, like me, grown woman, like me, cried at the end of this book. Like that's I read it much as a kid. It really, I thought it was like really packed an emotional punch.
Yeah, no, it did. I think which bit made you cry at the end? Like the whole of it?
Well, that whole scene that I felt a bit wobbly, where Julian was just erased from existence and Jenny's reaction to it. I thought like both of them felt they were unraveling a bit in this book, and I liked the fact I couldn't remember what Jenny was going to do. I felt a bit of uncertainty. Like I kind of wanted her to stay and be, when she was having that imagine of she could be the queen of the shadow world. I was like, yeah, actually do it.
Yeah. I was rooting for her. I really wanted her to do that. I was like, yeah.
I think it suited her somehow. Like, they kept talking about her light to his darkness. I mean, it kind of worked.
Yeah. I think maybe that L.J. Smith could have gone down that route, definitely. Like, I wouldn't have been sad with that. I would have been like, yeah.
I mean, it's one of those books, isn't it, that it was clever with that it played on your mind. Because at first I would have been like, totally ditched Tom, leave him in the shadow world, don't even bother to get him. But I actually did like him and think he was worth saving by the end. He really annoyed me at first, but I think in the second book he redeemed himself because he was acting all sketchy, wasn't he, in the second one? And it turned out to try and save Jenny and to make sure that she was okay. And like he kept sacrificing himself to try and save her.
I'll tell you the bit that got me, like it really did get me quite emotional, was when she goes back to what turns out to be Zoltar is her granddad. And then she like kind of asks him, do you want me to put you out of your pain? And I'm thinking, it was so well written.
Absolutely devastating.
So good. I was like, oh, this is so sad. And then the little card that he sends.
Yeah.
Oh,
I cried then too, I think. Books don't often make me cry that much. And like, it was kind of a good cry, like a cathartic kind of that felt right.
Yeah.
Like really beautiful. And how great that a point horror can have such a poignant moment. People think they're such throwaway kind of one superficial stories sometimes, and they're not. They really like pack a punch emotionally.
Yeah, no, definitely. That did get me, that scene. I was like, because it's so relatable as well, like losing a loved one and things like that. And I was just like,
yeah, not getting like, I think that somebody in the book said like not getting to say goodbye normally, and she did, although it was in a horrible circumstance. Goodbye, and she kind of took the positive from that. Never
definitely
really knew what happened to him. She assumed he died, but it was kind of actually worse than death in her opinion.
No, definitely got me. I had to get a tissue. It was like a little tear stain on that page,
streaming down. Let them all
Kelly's put new setting made it fresh. The second book felt like a filler between the two and took ages to get going, whereas this one got stuck in quite quickly.
I enjoyed the second book. I agree. I think that is the weaker one out of the three books.
Yeah.
It just the two strong bookends to me and like a kind of saggy middle.
Yeah. Oh, interesting.
Still good. Like it's it's still really good versus really, really, really good.
Yeah.
I think book 1 and 3.
Melina's put, I love that Michael owned his nerdiness by the end and was more comfortable
Yeah.
in his own skin. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, bless
we'll go
Michael.
through some growth, I think, because like Dee, I'd got a bit bored. I like her as a character, but she'd felt like she'd been a bit one note, and I liked the fact that she had some uncertainty in this one and kind of lost some of her confidence. Like thought that she was right, and then Audrey ended up getting hurt. Like I thought that the interplay with them was more interesting in this book. Like as
Yeah.
explained, they'd had a bit of animosity between them, and it kind of felt a bit more real in this one. Like you could see why it was happening, that they were just rubbing each other up the wrong way.
Yeah, that was quite cleverly done, actually, I think. I quite enjoyed that. Sharon's put, I love the amusement park setting. They are creepy when they're closed at night. So did you like the setting? I can imagine that you'd be like,
Yeah.
yeah.
I loved it. I love a creepy amusement park. I love the fact that it was such a good copy of the human world, but it had that uncanny quality, like something that looks a bit
Yeah.
inhuman and is for it. I thought it made it extra terrifying that it was really close in most ways, and then there were just the details. Like the bits we'll get to about the bits that gave me nightmares.
Oh yes, I'm going to ask you in a minute. I've been dying to ask you about that. But do you ever watch those like YouTube videos where it's like the like old amusement parks that obviously don't exist anymore, and there's just like a head, like do you remember? There used to be in the UK there was an amusement park called American Adventure, like in the 90s.
I feel like I might have been there.
Yeah, so if you look it up online, obviously it doesn't exist anymore, and I'm not sure if there's something else there now. But apparently, if you go a bit further into it, there's like when you walked in, there used to be like big heads, like I can't even remember what they were, but like big statue heads. But apparently, they're just like been dumped somewhere, and it just looks really creepy. Yeah,
heads like dotted around England after being abandoned.
Yeah, it is creepy, and oh dear, yeah, this is what I look at before bed. This is why I don't sleep.
Yeah,
but yeah, but I really like the setting in this one. I thought the use of the amusement park was genius, and it being in the shadow world and things gave me like, I know this was before Stranger Things, but it kind of gave me like Stranger Things vibes.
And I like the fact that it was built as a prison for Jenny's grandfather. I thought that was really chilling, because at first I wasn't sure whether they'd created it in their minds, because it was, putting together things they were afraid of. Really clever that they'd built it as a prison for him, and then they ended up in this world that Jenny herself remembered.
Yeah, it was so clever. I loved it. It was brilliant. And Sharon put, I felt a bit sorry for Julian in this story. The other shadow men were far worse. So I think in this one, Julian was a bit softer than he had been in the previous books. Like, why do you think that was? Like, I couldn't. Was it just because he knew it was coming to the end game kind of thing?
Have I just gone a bit dark for you, or is
you have a little bit.
I don't know.
As soon as I mentioned shadow people.
Literally. I think it just, I like start to go to sleep. I've sorted it. That was really creepy. Sorry, what was the question?
So I felt like Julian was really softer in this one.
That was it. I thought that was so interesting, because again, like I think a one-note character, if he just keeps being evil, you could tell in this one that he really, really loved Jenny, and he was starting to feel conflicted, like, actually, is being here with me the right thing for her? Like, should I let her go? And I like the fact that he seemed a bit more human, and explained, didn't it, that he would eventually become like one of the shadow men, but because he's one of the difficult ones, he's kind of started off more human, and they've lost their humanity over time. I mean, they were terrifying, like some of the way they were described.
Yeah, I wouldn't like to meet them in the dark amusement park.
Like I would like to meet Julian in dark amusement park. The others absolutely not.
Yeah, definitely.
Although I imagined him being like at least 28. I think the older I get, like the more I age up these people in my mind.
Yeah, I know, definitely the same. But yeah, Julian kind of he rescues Jenny, doesn't he, from that water and ice situation in like the mine rocks, and I was like, oh, that was the first time, and I thought, oh, this is interesting because he's actually rescuing her from his fellow shadow men.
Yeah,
Um,
he wasn't sure if it was him at first, was she, that had done it?
yeah,
He was the one
yeah.
who
Which I'm
rescued.
not surprised after what he's put
Yeah,
them through in the past two books. But yeah, I thought, oh, and then it came out with all the cheesy lines
yeah.
like normal, didn't he? Like having affection for not just her looks, but for her inner goodness, sweetness, and purity. You
But
know,
I
yeah.
bet that's what he went for.
Jenny. Yeah, I'm sure. Eddie May put, I cried too, Amy, at the end. I wanted her and Julian to rule too, but the hint of if he ever gets reborn made me wonder
Yeah.
perhaps. So I want a fourth book and a series.
Yeah, we just have a new trilogy. Oh, I don't know whether L. Jason is still writing. I've not like looked into this. I'd love to know because I know
Mm,
that there's been like the Secret Circle books and the Night World, but as far as I know, they were all
mm,
90s.
mm. Yeah.
Not sure whether she's
Was
still writing on.
there was something, I'm sure I read somewhere there was some conflict over the Vampire Diaries thing somewhere,
It
and
wouldn't
I
surprise me
think she
because there's
just
this.
refused to write anymore or something
Oh,
like
really?
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
series. But you know what? I don't know whether some of the later ones weren't written by her, like
Ah.
the Stefan's Diaries. I think I was looking at some of that because I'm trying to buy all. I've got all the original not original new covers
Ah.
sadly, but I've got the vampire books from back in the day,
Yeah.
the stuff that come out, and some of them I'm pretty sure didn't said that they weren't by her.
Ah, interesting.
Like
Yeah.
they said based on the world of L.J. Smith, and then you looked and it wasn't her.
Yeah. But maybe that's what caused. I'm sure I read somewhere there was some issue or something. So maybe that's what caused some
Marzipan
of the issue.
Marzipan put an answer
Oh,
that I started writing again when the Vampire
let me
Diaries.
have a look.
Oh, I missed it.
Oh, yeah, yeah. So I just started writing again. Vampire Diaries came out on TV, but then she got fired for taking the books in the Damon direction. Ah, interesting.
I wonder if it's like the I know the Buffy books. One interview with Dara Blake, she said that Disney basically gave a direction that they had to go in because obviously the Buffyverse is this intellectual property that can only be under certain restrictions.
Mm,
Like her books are considered canon in terms of Buffy. So she had to stick with this kind of preordained canon, and the same with William Ritter, who wrote the Spike prequel.
oh,
He was
yeah.
given quite clear structure, and he managed to put in some little Buffyverse things of his own that didn't get taken out. But I think he took the structure in the most right in that.
Oh,
I don't know. It's interesting the Damon direction. I wonder if she did that, without giving spoilers for TV show. I wonder if she did it at a point where the TV show didn't want to do that. Because I know, like,
mm,
the TV show changed its mind back and forth between brothers.
mm.
Like, as you would. I mean, look at them. But
Definitely. Real life Julians. um, Teddy's put, I wanted Jenny to go and join the Shadow World with Julian. Felt sorry he wasn't saved in the end. Sad face, crying face. Reluda's put, I really enjoyed seeing the vulnerable side to Julian, like we were saying. Yeah, and Speedway Chick said there are some great quotes in this one for life. So I am as strong as I need to be. I am my only master. That
yeah,
was right, wasn't it? Yeah, I thought that was great. That, and was it Dee who says that? I think.
yeah.
Um,
Um, and then was that they quoted back at her later on, like when she needed a bit of strength, like Jenny was saying that to her, like, "Come on, you're your only master."
yeah, yeah,
When Julian was trying to mess with all of their minds on the boat. Again, not good behaviour, Julian. Like just when I thought I liked him again, and he was just trying to like completely undermine
it's
everybody.
like I'm
But
ruining my bad boy image by
yeah, I
saving Jenny.
know,
I need to do
be
something
horrible
bad,
again.
be horrible to everyone. Yeah. In the tunnel of love as well. How dare he? Tams, but I think the series got stronger as it went on. A few people remember American Adventure. Oh, yay! I think I've got some pictures of me there. I'll have to see if I
Was
can
that
try and find them.
the one that had Pep Pepsi Max? I remember there being like a really scary roller coaster. Or was
There
that
was
somewhere else?
all I really remember about it was the roller coaster. They had, I want to, I don't know whether it was something called like the Bullet or something like that. And it literally, you got on it and it like shot you up and round and then up and then you went backwards and round and at the time like that was like really scary, like not like it is at Alton Towers now with like all the loop de loops and
I'd
stuff.
have to
But
look at some
yeah,
things. I definitely remember going. I'd got some friends that I used to do stuff like that with when I was younger,
yeah.
and I could with my parents and their parents. But
I think some of the rides from there got refurbished and put in other theme parks. So I think that one I was on about is somewhere in the country. But yeah, um, it was great, good
yeah,
memories.
good old 90s theme parks.
Yeah. So I've just saw April's mentioned about the lion trash can that kept yelling for food was terrifying. So there was a couple of terrifying moments, and I know in the last chat you said there was one particular one that like gave you nightmares when you were young. Which one was it?
So there were three things. The lion was number three in the list because that thought of putting my hand
Oh,
into something that I can't see is
mm,
terrifying. The coin being there, I thought was really devious.
yeah.
The second worst thing was the dead body being pulled out of a hooker duck,
Oh,
like
yeah. That. Oh, it was the
just sort of
descriptions of the
floated
like.
and
Yeah, and it was like I think.
surfacing.
Oh,
Absolutely terrifying.
and the
Like even
squish. Oh,
so visceral. But the one that gave me nightmares was PC and Slug's heads.
yeah.
In the I imagined it being like floating disembodied in a tank and being able to nod and like emote and
Oh,
stuff, but they're just these heads. I had
oh,
nightmares about it, but in my nightmare, I'm really sorry for the imagery here, they were in like a carnival booth and they were like their heads were just plopped like in the
oh,
front of the booth.
oh.
So that was how I remembered the scene in the book, and I think that was just a recurring nightmare instead of like how it actually was
Yeah.
in the book. I was surprised that they were in a tank and not just plopped there because that's what I remembered. But yeah, that really, really got to me. I think the fact that they were not dead like they assumed, but just this
Mm.
horrible, like in between life and death state was just really scary to me. It's still scary actually. So I'm talking about it now. My arms
Oh,
are
I know
goosebumps.
it does give me the shivers. Like it was a really eerie image, and then especially like at the end where their bodies without their heads are like trying. Oh no!
It was
It was
a bit funnier though, actually. I did imagine like it was a bit like Hocus Pocus, where is it Billy
like,
Bones like crawling around trying to find his head.
yeah,
Um,
yeah, definitely.
but yeah, the thing
Oh,
about that, isn't there? Like often in a slasher, like people die, and the main character's so busy trying to survive that you kind of have to move on from the deaths, and I think that keeps it going. But like the fact that her grandpa and the two boys didn't die, I thought was really scary because
mm,
just the thought of them being in this like world, especially the grandfather, all those years, is really awful.
yeah, definitely. No, that was really chilling scene,
Yep.
and and
Oh,
and that Leo the lion scene. Oh, like that got me. Like I was like, oh no, no, don't put your hand in. Do not put your arm in there. And then it just like the imagery of it changing into this like cyber type of lion thing and just clamping down on Audrey's arm. I was like, oh gosh,
see that
stress.
if it had been an adult book or a different kind of teen book, I think that the arm would have been off and
Yeah.
Audrey would have been a goner.
Yeah, that's
Luckily
interesting.
for us, it was a point horror because I don't know with these whether I don't know how much guidance they were given about which characters had to live or die and things like that.
Yeah,
But yeah,
yeah.
it did feel like they kind of they all got through it, didn't they? The main group, including the one we thought was dead. I'd
I
forgotten that surprise.
know. Was that a nice
Yeah,
surprise? Like, did
I
you
totally forgot.
was
Thought
you
she was dead. So that was
happy that she was alive? I did a
yeah.
little bit like, yay.
I feel like because she was probably to me the most innocent of them. Like she really didn't know what she was signing up for, I don't think, and like she didn't realize how serious it was until like the dirty room ate her, basically. So, and even in this one, she just seemed totally lost and terrified, and like she needed somebody to look after her. Like she was not cut out for being in a horror book at all. The poor kid. She just needed to be at home home like knitting, wrapped in a nice warm blanket with a hot chocolate, and somebody looking after her. She shouldn't be in the shadow world at all.
No, that sounds good actually.
Yeah, be there than in the shadow world. Actually, even if I got to meet Julian, no, thank you. I'm just gonna stay clear.
But the thing is, though, it did. The only thing that made me laugh about the summer thing was that she didn't remember much leading up to what happened, and she didn't really remember that it was her messy room that ate her. So she's not going to learn a lesson
No,
from
she's
it.
gonna go home and mess that room up again, and it's gonna like her parents are gonna come in and find it gone. Yeah,
Yeah, so she's the one who hasn't learnt the
yeah.
lesson. We can just see
No.
it. Um,
Although I was really glad about her little brother, because that was really sad in the second book. Like when they're
oh,
playing, I can't remember what the game was in the second book, like the lamb, like
oh,
the water game. I can't
yeah,
remember it, but yeah, the
yeah.
kids were playing that. I thought it was really, really sad that he had become like really hardened after it, and like
Mm,
obviously
mm,
hadn't moved on at all, like as you wouldn't from the loss of a
no.
sibling.
He
Like
probably took her room though, maybe.
maybe tidied it up a
Tidied
bit.
it up a
Yeah,
bit, and then she's going to come back now, mess it all
yeah,
up. um, Tam's put yes, the lion was really creepy. Sharon's put I love the cave scene, really claustrophobic,
yeah.
great horror moment. I would not like to have been down that cave.
No, it
No.
was horrible. Where Jenny, I mean, we knew she was going to survive because she was Jenny, but it was just where it started to fill up with water, and like he
Mm.
was imagining like that moment of being at the top of the
Oh
cave. That's
dear.
for me as well. Awful.
I think that's like my worst nightmare is probably like drowning or fire. Like either of those where I'd just rather go quick. Like I don't want to have to suffer. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I mean, I don't want to
Well,
go at
yeah,
all, but you know, you know what I
immortality, please, for the win.
mean? Yeah.
Yeah,
But yeah, oh no, it was really claustrophobic, and you could feel it off the page as well. Like you could really feel like how enclosed they were and how lost they were down there with everything changing and becoming more real.
yeah. This
Um,
book and the whole series, I think, has dealt really well with horror tropes, and like
yeah,
even like the ones in book one that were completely wild, where like, do you remember the alien scenes and stuff? Because Dee was scared of aliens. Suddenly we've got like an alien abduction, and Dee was going to get probed.
yeah.
It's just so, I love the fact that it is so wild. I think that that's as a teen why I like, well, as a tween, I was younger than a teen, why I
Mm,
liked it so much. It was just so out there, and it still is. Reading it more than 20
yeah,
years later, it's still like one of the weirdest things I've read as a collective
yeah,
piece. I just think it's
yeah, yeah. It's just so varied, isn't it, with all
mm,
the tropes. Cameron put the humanish monster in the water with the melty flesh was.
yep, yep, five Phil, absolutely.
Oh.
And the way it was described, I think LJ Smith is great at
Mhm.
conjuring an image. Like you can imagine exactly, even though thankfully I've not seen anything like that in real life, I could just picture it
Mm.
awful.
Oh, horrible. And I think Eddie May was referencing when your light went off. She said strange things always happen on these lives. Remember the fireworks? Occasionally I manage to set fireworks off on the screen. I don't know how I do it because it never does it when I want it to. It just does it random. It's obviously like something that I do. And yeah, I don't know.
The Jen thing, like, is there something that you can activate? Let's just quite sit quite
It
still.
must be, I don't know. All I ever remember doing is going like that, and then it never does it when I want it to. And like, yeah. Oh, and yeah, Andy May said the shadow world was creeping in to Amy.
Mean it was really bad. It made me forget the question too. Like, lost all of my composure.
Oh dear. I'm just scrolling down some comments. Oh, Cameron's put that sad that you can get fired from your own book. Yeah, that is really sad, actually.
Publishing is a very weird business. Like, lots of stuff goes on that just shocks me. Like, people have talked to me about things like there's this thing about IP projects where like if the publisher has the idea, it belongs to them even though you've written it, and they pay you like a low fee and share
Mm.
royalties. So even though you've written a whole 90,000 word book, they essentially own it.
Oh.
So I think people really want to get published, like, and want to stay published.
Mm.
I'm in that. I want to have another. I'm finishing my last like contracted book, and you want to have another book, and it's so competitive that I can see how it happens, and I
Yeah.
respect them. Like, get like the Buffyverse thing. Like if there's all this other Buffyverse stuff going on, like comics and the Audible series, they want to make sure that nobody introduces something that's gonna kind of mess the trajectory. But I don't understand when it's something like the Vampire Diaries where it's
Yeah,
her world she's created.
it's
Like the
crazy.
Buffy somebody else's vision, but that's hers. Like she came up with that. Just
No,
because the TV series was going another way, I don't think that they should have been able to steer her. That's where money, and she at some point will have something that says that they can do that. So
yeah. Same with like Game of
yeah,
Thrones, really, isn't it? They went off in their
yeah.
own direction.
Scott Pilgrim, I think, didn't it happen where
Oh
I
yeah,
think I don't know
yeah.
exactly what happened with that, but I seem to think like the girl in the movie was different from the one in the comics or something like that.
Something like that. Yeah, it was something. Heather's put the heads when we were talking about the heads. Yeah,
Yeah.
April's put the heads so gruesome, and then Sharon's put the heads were fabulous.
I mean, we know. To
Obviously.
be honest, I was thinking of Sharon at various key points in this, thinking Sharon will be loving this. This is like everything Sharon wants from body.
Eddie May's put yes, the floating heads creep me out so bad. And Karen said, I wanted a post book scene with Summer rocking up at home like, surprise, I'm alive.
Explain that. I don't think someone would have done a very good job either. Like, trying to explain where she'd been. The way she was as well, some of the descriptions just made me laugh in this book. Like it like said she'd got like dandelion fluff hair, and I just gave like a little dandelion clock, like hello.
Oh dear, can you imagine? Your worst nightmare said the bit where she was trapped in the cave with whispering all around her. Yeah, I forgot about the whispering. That would have just, I would have just freaked out.
Awful, like in every way. Like when they're not in the scene and you can just see their eyes and hear the whispering, and then when you actually see them, sometimes I think the reveal takes some of the power of a thing away. Like you know, you watch an alien film, you see the aliens, you go, "Oh, not scared now." Like
Yeah.
they were just as scary when you saw them, which I think is the power of L.J. Smith's writing. Like it wasn't just the hiding them from us that was powerful, the whole thing.
Yeah, definitely. And Tam's put the worst part for me was when Jenny was stuck in the cave, made me feel physically sick. I really don't like small spaces. April's put it's like in horror movies when people put their hands in the garbage disposals and you're afraid it's going to turn on. Yes.
Yeah. Always happens. That's one of those, isn't it? Where like 9 times out of 10 it doesn't, but then you get a Scream movie where somebody, you know, or
yeah. Sharon's put, I was a bit disappointed none of them died, to be honest. How about you, Amy? Did you want them all to live?
It feels though, I've been there, Sharon. Like it's difficult because you want it to be true to life and that if people are in this situation that stuff would happen, but you become so attached to the characters and like I get it. You have to read my book, Sharon, to tell me if I killed off enough people, but it hurt. The amount I kill off in it, I'm like
I do like a good killing spree. I have to admit.
I don't mind. Like in my short story and in standalone things that I've written in the past, obviously not published ones, I don't feel as attached and I have killed off quite a lot of people. But I think being a trilogy, you've got to keep enough characters going because if I'd killed off too many but one, there'd be nobody left to carry the torch, just me on her own. Like, got no friends left. I don't want to do that. And also, then I just got attached to them and you know, you can decide for yourself in the third book, like basically. But
oh no, Amy, what are you going to do to us?
decisions have to be made sometimes.
No, Amy. Talking about Vampire Diaries, Marzipan Pony said, I don't think that the TV show had anything to do with it. I just thought it was super ironic that L.J. Smith got fired for taking the books where Eleanor ends up with Damon, only to have the TV show go in that direction.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Ridiculous. But yeah, I suppose if she's signed a contract that says this will be the plot,
yeah,
you know, it's harsh, but the consequences that will presumably have been there. But when
definitely,
it's really separating to have to stick to somebody else's plot. But I think I would in that position, or I just wouldn't sign to it, and I'd say no, I'm going to self-publish the thing.
No, yeah. Let's get in touch with L.J. Smith and say self-publish.
Yeah.
We'll buy it.
You know what? I bet loads of publishers would publish her stuff too. Like it's amazing. I mean, Simon and Schuster seem to have the new editions. They've got the Kindle edition, like the bind up that I bought with Simon and Schuster. So I don't know whether they've still got the rights to Forbidden Game.
Yeah, I think on one of my posts, Tanya from Christopher Pike Rocks, she mentioned who's got the rights to it. I can't remember who she said now, but yeah, we're still in hope that they're going to make this into a TV series or film.
God, it'd be amazing. It would be so visual. I mean, I do know that when stuff goes out of print, like usually when it falls below a certain number of copies sold per year, other publishers, it reverts back to the author and other publishers can then buy it. And I know that has happened with various things in the past, and things of like, you know, or a publisher's folded, like a small publisher and another one. So yeah, I don't know. So definitely had it at some point, because that's what my copy says.
Yeah.
But,
yeah, hopefully one day we will get what we all want. Yeah, Sharon put it with
like stuff like Fear Street. Who'd have thought that they'd have made like a three movie, like,
yeah, and a new one coming out soon, being filmed as well, which is so exciting.
Yeah, what's that one coming out?
Is it The Prom Queen or yeah, something like that? Prom Queen. Oh, I've got the book over there. Yeah, The Prom Queen.
Ah, cool.
Yeah, so
is that the then? There's a Point Horror with a similar title, isn't there?
Yeah, they all had similar titles like Fear Street, Nightmares, Point Horror. They get very confusing sometimes. Sharon said, yeah, it would make such a great TV show, definitely.
Shame it couldn't have the I picked though, right? I spent ages trying to think, especially Julian. I was like looking specifically at people's eyes, like everything piercing enough blue, and only Jared Leto fit the bill for that.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that casting. So when I asked you to do that, I thought, oh, I wonder what Amy's going to come up with. And then when you sent me them, I was like, this is like the perfect 90s casting that I've ever seen.
Honestly, I it like a proper assignment. Like, I took that seriously. It was the most difficult. Like Mike. Oh my God, I've forgotten his name. I'll just call him Matt. Michael.
Oh yeah,
Michael.
Michael. Yeah.
From Vampire Diaries, I was like, Matt is the son of Vampire Diaries. Yeah. So Michael was hard, but I could just visualize what was as close to that actor from Home Improvement. And Tom, I had no idea. Would not. I read the descriptions of Tom. I just couldn't picture anything. So I went for Jonathan Taylor Thomas because I had a crush on him in the 90s. That seemed fine.
Yeah, it was like the perfect casting, honestly. And Alicia Silverstone as Audrey was like, I was like, yes, I can see it. 100%.
Christian Slater as Zach, I thought, was a good choice as well. Like, I could just see him, like, just the way he described is like, have you seen Pump Up the Volume?
No, I haven't seen that. I think you told me to watch that before.
But he plays, you'd love the character because he's really confident on the radio, and then in real life he's like really shy and nerdy, and he wears glasses and like takes the coffee on the radio, you know.
That sounds like a Shelley man.
Yeah, it's really good. You'd like it. It's all about like teenage rebellion and finding an outlet for his creativity and stuff. It's really good. But yeah, somebody over Juno disagrees with me. It's such a good film. I'd say it's a top 3 Christian Slater film for me, probably.
Ooh, I can't believe I've never seen it. I'm such a letdown.
True and Heathers are up there for me.
Yeah, Heathers, yeah, definitely. Marzipan Pony said, I'm hoping that being based on a book restores the campiness to the series, the original 3 being straight horror, so I think that was like Fear Street. Yeah, so it's meant to, because they're basing it on just on a particular book this time. Maybe.
Yeah, rather than, I think they tried to come up with their own arc and aesthetic that sort of linked to the books. The others didn't.
No.
I don't think it fully did that.
No. I just remember the bread slicer, and like you was on the Zoom and you were like, Shelley, your face.
The thing is, as soon as I saw that environment, I was like, there is going to be something disgusting with some piece of kitchen. I feel it coming. I was like, is it going to be the blender? Is it like meat grinder or something?
The bread slicer.
Yeah, I didn't see that particular like appliance coming.
Marzipan Foley says Spike from Buffy would have made an excellent Julian.
Do you know what? that crossed my mind, and I was like, I just think he was a tad too old. I'm really sorry, James Marsters, but I think he was like, was he late 20s or early 30s?
Yeah,
And I was kind of
yeah,
gonna go for around 20, but yeah, he was my first thought. I thought Spike 10 years before,
yeah.
absolutely.
Because
Or
on the American covers, they kind of give him a spikish kind of vibe, I
yeah,
think.
they do. The one that I've got, the bind up that you've bought now, has
Yeah,
a little Spike, like a bit kind of Billy Idol thing going for him, which is
yeah.
how he's described in the book. Actually, I think magic Billy Idol.
Yeah, because oh, that's what I was going to mention to you. When he first comes to Jenny in the caves, he's shirtless.
I mean, LJ Smith is what we want, doesn't she?
I
This
was
is
like,
yeah. Julian as well. Look, I'm going to play all my cards. These are the rules I've got. I'm going to put if my ads over them. Fine.
yeah, I was like, surely, like you're freezing down there shirtless, but I'm here
Shadow
for
Man.
it.
He's a Shadow Man. Maybe he needs something cold.
He'll have like nipple burn or something from like saving Jenny
I
and
thought you
that.
were going to say yours about his nipples. Like
Oh dear.
me from Friends moment. What she says about nipples.
Yeah. Oh.
That was you, Shelley. I did not introduce nipples to the conversation.
Always happens somewhere along the line. Um, April's, but I will miss Jenny's unabashed horniness for
It's
Julian.
so funny because they say that she's so pure and innocent and sweet, and as soon as Julian comes out,
She's
well, I guess
really not.
she's like, well, I just have one like passionate groping kiss with him. That's fine. That's not cheating, Tom, is it? Like, she has all these thoughts going through her head. Like, I just can't
Mm.
resist him, so it's not cheating.
So, like, now we've got to the end of the trilogy. What do you think? What will you miss the most? Is it just Julian, or
Do you
what
know
would you
what?
miss?
It's the whole. I don't know. To me, it's really quintessential point horror in that it's got the cheesiness that makes us roll our eyes, like the descriptions, and I kind of love that. I love the fact that they are very much of a time and a feel. But I just think that these are genuinely really good books, like really
Mm.
compelling horror. The characters are great. I think it's like one of those really rare books where the whole package, like when we were talking about Catch Your Death the other night on my book club,
Yeah.
like there's this a rare moment where a book kind of has everything that feels really strong, like the
Mm.
atmosphere, the setting, the antagonists are suitably actually terrifying. Because normally I'm not that scared of the villains and stuff. Like I think they're just like a tool, a means to an end. But these were
Yeah.
terrifying.
No,
Yeah,
definitely.
I don't know. It's just the whole world for me. How about you? What is the main like takeaway that you had? Because I think at first you weren't sure. I remember like the first 50 pages, the first book. You were
Yeah,
like,
I was a bit like,
this is your
oh.
favorite. Like, what is this?
I think I just missed like see in this book I did struggle with Julian a bit because he was just too nice. I kind of liked him when he was
Yeah,
more bad, so I think I would just miss like his like game playing and the characters essentially because
yeah.
you know you do grow quite attached to them. But
I
yeah,
knew that his game was coming to an end. Like he'd had this clever like ploy, three different types of game, like such a good premise when it's the forbidden game.
mm,
And I think he just knew he was out of tricks and out of time.
mm,
I think that sadness had just kind of seeped into it, which I think was
yeah,
believable. Actually, I get it. I think he would have been more fun if he hadn't been like that. But I think it was more real that he was.
yeah. No, definitely. Yeah. I just got
And
used
then
to him being so bad.
yeah,
Eddie Ray's book Nipple Burn is the price one pays to save the love slash lust of his life.
yeah, totally worth
So like over the whole trilogy, who would you say is your favourite character?
Julian
I
because
knew I was gonna say Julian.
he was first fictional crush, I think. Like, now when people talk about all these characters I've never heard of because I've generally not read the series, I just feel like you need to read The Forbidden Game, compare them to Julian, and then tell me if they're giving the one-liners and giving the bad boy energy. I just think he's a really
Mm,
interesting character. He's not just two-dimensional. Like, you can, although he just was conjured from nowhere, apparently, like fully formed,
yeah.
or late teen or early 20s, however old he's meant to be.
Mm,
I really liked, I don't know, I really liked him. I think he was a great antagonist and love interest combo.
yeah.
That was my first encountering of that. How about you? Do you have a favourite character?
I do have to say, whenever I do post about the Forbidden Game, everyone says, "Oh, Julian!" Like all the time. That's the first thing people say. Oh,
And you
Julian.
know what? In the 90s, I was like not problematic behavior at all. I just didn't see it. Now I think
Yeah,
I see some of the like being an obsessive stalker is
yeah,
wrong. I get that. I think I wouldn't say he's a, great example of, a perfect boyfriend, but I just think he's interesting. And like
yeah.
we've got the Damon, Eric from True Blood, like that
Yes.
walking the line where you think that they're absolutely evil and then they step over and do something good and you're like, oh man, I can't keep up. I love that. That
Yeah,
feeling. I love that writing that kind of character as well. It's really fun.
yeah. And Cameron's put agree. Julian is my forever villain
Yeah.
heart. Sharon's put Julian is the best character. I preferred when he was bad though. Yeah, see, preferred bad Julian, not this soppy Julian. Julian was always my fave. Eddie May says he's so dark and brilliant, and yet we get hints he might have a soft spot for love. Yeah,
Like Spike again. Like Spike is a bloody fool for love, like the title of
yeah,
a book.
yeah. And Your Worst Nightmare said, I love Zach. He's moody and artistic, basically teen me's ideal man. Ah, yeah, Zach. Now Tam is a woman after my own heart. I know you're both raving about Julian, but let's not forget Michael the cuddly bear. Now,
No.
I think overall, Michael might be my favourite because he's been on
Oh.
quite a journey. I mean, he got sucked down a toilet,
What was the thing you
which was
said?
my
The thing.
favourite
What was the
moment.
thing about Michael in
Oh,
this book? You said,
yeah. So this is my favourite Michael moment in this book. And funny enough, I was talking to Speedway Chick about it earlier because she picked up on it as well. So at some point, Michael finds he says a mutoscope, but I presume it's one of them like kaleidoscope
yeah.
things. Yeah. And he begins cranking it. And this is the quote. So he begins cranking it, leaning gingerly to look in the goggle type viewer and watch the flip card film. And apparently it says, see naughty Moretta sunbathing. The sign on the brass trim machine read, passed by New York censors October the 12th, 1897. And then all of a sudden he goes, my arm hurts, he said afterward. And it's just some lady wrapped in a sheet.
I
I
mean,
was like, Michael.
I think he was probably just turning the handle of the machine, maybe, but
Who
unfortunate
knows?
wording. I don't that at all, Shelley. I'm your virtuous Jenny of the scenario then, because I
It's my obviously my one, my smutty mind, but two, it was when he's like, it's just some woman sunbathing with a towel. Oh, bless Michael. Yeah. Karen's put Zach when he notices girls and Jenny shazing like, yep, that'll last 5 minutes. Yeah, she really does. But they are cousins, so she can shade him a little bit. Sharon's put Michael was a cutie. Actually, the boys were the best characters. Ah, interesting. What do you think on
I
that?
I appreciated her, but I don't think she got much chance to shine as a character. She was a little bit two-dimensional in places. Like she was just always kick-ass, and like it would have been nice to see like different dimensions of her personality. And the same with Audrey. I think that they really leaned into the shallow bit, and then Jenny was the pure, virtuous, sunshiny one who, all the boys wanted and all the girls wanted to be.
Yeah,
I think that the boys were a bit like Michael. I thought was fun and really sweet. Zach isn't necessarily my point horror boy. I like the meathead point horror boy. The ones who look like Chris Hemsworth or Jason Momoa, they're my point. Yeah,
yeah,
I thought they were all interesting. I
yeah.
didn't like stuff in one of the early ones where it was a bit unclear whether Jenny and Zach had a bit of a thing, and I was a bit like,
Oh, yeah, I remember that in the first book.
like it
Yeah.
was like at one point Julian was pretending to be Zach, but then it almost seemed like he was leaning into Zach's actual feelings,
Yeah.
and I was like, oh,
Ooh.
let's not go into that. We
Yeah.
don't need.
Marty Fanfani said Zach would have been the one I wanted to date, cousin lust aside, but Michael would have been the one I actually dated. Yeah, see, I feel the same. Eddie May put Dee was a bit annoying in ways because she always thought a well-delivered karate chop answered
Yeah,
everything. I mean, it does, but all the talking about it was too much. But I did feel like Dee was given a bit of a disservice, a little bit, like you mentioned, a little bit. There could have been more to her, and obviously it kept get commenting on her appearance and stereotypical things, which I found a little bit. But that's just a sign of the times. I kind of put that down to. But I would have liked a little bit more, I think.
yeah, and I mean, in terms of the point horrors that I remember, a lot of them were very like white middle class. Like you didn't see many different people from different social backgrounds or people of different races, people of different religions or anything. So I think the fact they did try and obviously L.J. Smith tried to lean into Dee's heritage and stuff, but
Yeah.
it
Just
with modern lens, it doesn't read quite right.
yeah, that's what I mean. It doesn't land quite right when you're reading
No.
it nowadays, sometimes, definitely. And Karen's put, I would love a prequel series starring Grandpa as a teen, learning all about the Shadow
Yeah,
World. He has to be
yeah,
played by some complete totty, though. Chris Evans will do. Oh, prequel would be so good. I'd be into
yeah, because
that, definitely.
it gave us enough of a hint. I think I was satisfied that I knew enough of how I got into it, but it definitely only scratched the surface of that.
Mm. And Eddie May said, I'll take Chris Evans in anything, or my husband Bill Skarsgård.
I always have to have a little laugh when people say Chris Evans because my brain doesn't go to like the big breakfast ginger head
Yeah,
Chris. And then I'm
yeah.
like, oh,
So
they might mean Captain. I mean, they might mean that Chris Evans, but they probably mean Captain America, right?
yeah, I think Eddie May lives in America, so she probably doesn't know who the other Chris Evans is. But
You
look him
need to
up.
Google it now, Eddie. I'm missing it.
Speedway Chick says a couple of notes I made. They took a crowbar on a plane, yeah,
Yeah,
which I mentioned.
complete
It cost
normal
13
behavior.
normal behaviour. It cost 13.95 to get into the park before the Shadow World, and then didn't have any money left. Yeah,
That sounds like modern theme parks, doesn't it? You pay
yeah,
to and you're like, my bank account's empty now. I can't eat.
gone. The Speedway Chick said they were regularly eating food from the vending machines. Not sure I would have been brave enough. Yeah,
No.
in the Shadow World, we probably like had maggots and in yeah. Karen's but I live in the UK and I never mean the British ginger ginger
Just
guy.
it's because my childhood was like watching him on a variety of TV shows. It's ingrained that that's who Chris Evans is. And when I saw the Hollywood version, I was like, oh, about as different as two human men could get. Yes.
Everyone's telling Eddie May not to
I want
Google
to see
it.
Eddie Ray's live reaction.
So out of the three books then, so these were the three, which one was your favourite?
One or three. I mean, I think
Ooh.
the first book always has that kind of what is happening, like this is brand new and you're discovering it with the characters, and that's hard to replicate. I know that's hard to replicate in future books. But I think there's something to be said for the third book. Like you said with Michael, he got to have some character growth, and Jenny
Yeah.
herself got to have it was hammered home a little bit how much Jenny had grown, but yeah, she did grow as a character. And I liked seeing people start to unravel like Dee and Julian. That was interesting to me that people start to lose it a little bit. So yeah, I think probably the third one slightly edged it for me. How about you? Did you have a favourite one?
Right, I think I'm going to go against the
No?
grain here, but my
Do
favourite
it.
one was the
Ah,
second book.
okay.
Only because I just like the whole creeper and
Yeah,
lurker
that was
thing, and
yeah.
yeah, and I just like the way that the characters got taken like randomly, because I'm never going to forget the toilet thing ever. But yeah, I know book two kind of gets a bit of a bad rap a little bit, but I think the second book might be my
Yeah.
favourite.
I mean, it depends on what you think about pacing. Like the third book is pretty much like go,
Yeah,
go, go, all action like that. But I think if you want that slower burn and like that kind of, I thought it was really atmospheric at the start of the second book where you realised how dangerous the creeper and lurker were when they killed that kid who was a horrible child but probably didn't deserve to be murdered by two, nightmare creatures.
yeah.
But then the pace after that kind of dropped a little bit for me. But I think it's just personal
Yeah,
preference, isn't it? Somebody's
I don't know. I don't know why I prefer it. And obviously, at the time when we read that, obviously I was moving house, so I had a lot going on. So I don't know whether it was just it just it sucked me in at a time when I needed it, because everything was just so hectic in the real world. So maybe it's just that's why I liked it so much. But
And that's the thing
yeah,
with books, if they hit you, if a great book hits you at the right time, it feels like the perfect book, doesn't it? Like
yeah,
an
no, that's it.
Rachel Harrison moment, and I think that it's like a combination of being completely in the mood for that, and she's just
Yeah.
one cracking book after another. I just
Oh,
can't read them fast.
yeah, she's so good. We had her on
And
the Point Horror
I
book
still
club,
haven't had
and
a chance to. I need to go back.
oh,
Say
yeah.
completely useless because I've just lived in an editing cage since last September.
You've
I'm
been
like
so busy.
really
Oh, bless you.
edited on repeat.
Heather's put one was my favourite, then number 3. Cameron's put book 1 is my fave, but I love the spookiness of book 3. Yeah, I mean the setting in book 3 was perfect. Your Worst Nightmare says I'm going to go 1 as well. Sexiest
Yeah,
Julian for sure.
yeah, and it's that mystery, isn't it? And meeting him for the first time, and I think he had lots of different incarnations in the first book, which I found really interesting because I started thinking like, are all these myths actually Julian? Like these real world myths that we know, are they just like little hints of the shadow world we've seen? And I loved that. I thought that was a really clever
Yeah.
idea.
Speed Ratchet said book 3 for me. April's put book 1 and then definitely number 3. See, I'm the only one who really liked number 2.
That's fine. Stick your choice. Don't let us sway you, Shelley. Like I totally
Yeah.
love.
Eddie May put 3 is my fave, but I really liked 1. Sharon said book 3 was more horror, although mild, but I mild for
And
Sharon.
the rest of us just like melted our brains and thoughts reading it. Which
Yeah, but I really enjoyed it as a trilogy.
yeah.
Melina's put book 3 for me. The fairground setting was ice and the horror felt
Mm-hmm.
darker. Tam's put for me 1 worst, 2 middle, and 3 was my fave. Oh, interesting. Hi, Nikki. And Marzipan Pony said, I think 3 is my favourite, and the creepy kids in the beginning of book 2.
Oh
Yes.
yeah.
With the
Yeah.
hide and seek game might be one of my favourite scenes in the entire
It,
series. Yeah,
I
that
didn't really.
was a good scene.
So yeah, another really really good plot point of how like the shadow world could have an influence in ways that you don't even really know.
In the real world.
Yeah.
And just one last thing before we finish up, because I realise I've gone over an hour, because just enjoy chatting, Amy.
Yeah. We don't
um,
that much, do we? Like, I
no,
wonder how
never.
hours it's been over the years. I was precisely, but
I know. But there was a rumour about a 4th book, which there was going to be called Rematch.
ah,
So do you
ah.
think like a 4th book would have been good, and like, how would that have worked with the ending that we've read in The Kill? Like, what do you think?
It was left so open, the bringing Julian back, and like Jenny, I think still had that slight reluctance. Like, I don't think she'd quite let the idea of him go. Like all the others were a bit like, yeah. I think was it Michael who was kind of nice. Like somebody could write it. Somebody said, I think it was Michael. Like somebody might write his name again. He might not be gone forever. And Jenny could see it being like, no,
Mm.
no, yeah. I feel like at that point, LJ Smith did what I would have done if I'd not known if I was getting a 4th book or not. Like, he left the door
Yeah.
open a little bit for that. I totally see it going in that direction. I don't know whether it was needed because I think that it did tie up, like, what more could it do? I think, like, Jenny had made a choice and, like, Julian had kind of given up, it seemed to me. Like, he sort of felt that he'd lost. Like, I don't know what more a 4th book could do. How about you? Like,
Yeah, I've spoilt it a little bit for myself, because LJ Smith must have done an interview years ago, and you can see like what she was kind of thinking for a 4th book, but I'd read it and I was like, oh, I'm not sure. So apparently it was rumoured the story starts the week when Jenny is about to marry Tom. And Jenny's parents think she's way too young, and they have a big argument, but they finally relent and let her marry Tom. And then obviously all the gang get involved. So Zach does the invitations, Tom, and all the gang are there. And then with 4 days to the wedding, Jenny wakes up in her bed with something on her pillow and gradually comes into focus, and it's a silver rose on her pillow. And then I've written here, if anyone thinks that Julian plans to step back and let Julie marry Tom,
So do I. I like a bit of uncertainty. I think sometimes, like, seeing characters go off into the sunset and you being able to imagine how their lives are going to be, I prefer that. I think that's my books. There's not going on forever and ever like certain series, because I kind of want to leave them at some point. Like, just let them live their lives. Like, exposing them to serial killers if I keep writing about them. And I'm all for not eking stuff out as well, like with things like Lost. Like, how good were the beginning series of that? It's safe to say that the later ones, in my opinion, didn't measure up.
No,
I think
that's true.
better to spend when it's brilliant than to try and eke it out because of popularity, or revive it years later, unless there's a really good reason to.
Yeah, definitely. And it's like Heather's just put, I think as a trilogy it was great. A fourth would have went the route of the fourth babysitter book. I don't know whether you've ever read that fourth one.
Whether I ever did back in the day. I bought them all because that's what I've done. I've collected all the point horrors, but I always thought that was a trilogy, and I think when I was a kid I only had but 1, 2 and 3, so I wonder if I aged out of point horrors at one point.
Yeah, I did. So it might have been later.
One.
Have you
done it as a point horror book club book?
No, so I'm doing the babysitter in March, so we can kind of, so I'm thinking we're finishing a trilogy, so we're going to start something new to carry us through.
I've read that since the 90s, so I'm definitely all over that. What are you doing in February?
Crazy for You by A. Bates.
Oh, I have that, and I don't think I've read that one. I'm trying to do, like I said, I'm going to try and read along because I've been rubbish. I think I read 3 or 4 books this month. It's just not me. I much prefer when I'm reading a lot. I feel like a bit more of a chilled person. I start to get a bit stressed when I'm not reading.
Heather put Jenny's work in 3s. Because Jenny and the babysitter. Karen wants someone to write that 4th book immediately. Sharon says she's still annoyed at
to pay me to write it, just there in the universe. I'll totally write that.
LJ Smith. Amy's going to write it.
For the Forbidden Game, please. Anyone?
Yes. Petition. Sharon's, but I still get annoyed at Lost. So much wasted time. Yeah, I've rewatched it like last year, and I actually did appreciate it more than I did the first time round. Well, the last couple of seasons, I appreciated it a little bit more.
Yeah, I mean, I just think that it started so strong and so clever, and I think all of the clues didn't get properly utilized, and it just annoyed me. Like, I'm just going to throw in some smoke and some polar bears.
Oh, do you remember when everyone was obsessed with the numbers on the hatch?
Yeah.
Oh, those were the days.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh dear. And Cameron's put, I want 40,000, I think that says, books in the series. Even if it gets repetitive, give it me forever. It's just Julian, that's the thing. Hi, Shelley. But yeah. Oh no, Tam said the video's just synced up.
Oh, no.
Finally.
It looks fine for me. I hate when that happens.
I think a couple of times Tam's had a problem with the voices. I look like a robot or something. Mind you, it's probably just my normal look, to be fair. Oh, well, thanks, Amy. Thanks for chatting and reading the trilogy and joining us for like every book club for this trilogy as well. You've got to just come back forever now. You can't go anywhere.
Like you said, I do feel quite sad that we've finished. I'm like, where's the 4th book?
I do feel sad.
Definitely the babysitter is going to pull us back in, I think. Have a nice season to look forward to. Is it R.L. Stein, the babysitter?
Yeah, definitely.
He was my favourite back in the day, and I have to say that reading his original point horrors, some of them I'm a bit like, oh, these are the ones that are a little bit like out there now. Like 11, but now I'm a little bit older, a bit differently. So it'd be interesting to see what I think of that now.
Yeah, I did read. So back when I first started the Instagram page, I did read The Babysitter just to kick things off, but I didn't do a live chat or anything
Yeah.
because I hadn't thought about live chats at that point. And so I've reread it like I've reread it quite a few times now, The Babysitter, and yeah, there's a character in it called Chuck, and yeah, he loves doing things with bananas. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm
Okay.
saying.
Okay.
Yeah, he
And
doesn't
I've got to
read
wait
very well.
till March to read
March
that.
for that one. uh, yeah, so Eddie May's book, being new and reading these point horror books for the first time, wondering if any of you reread them now as adults very differently.
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
when we read The Babysitter, yes. But it
Can't
is a good
wait.
book as well, so yeah.
So excited to see what it's like as an adult. I was a tween babysitter when I read it, and I was terrified.
Oh, and Sharon's put they're all new to me too as an adult in the 90s. Kelly's put The Babysitter was my first ever point horror. Yeah, it was a lot of
It was probably one
people's
of mine, I
first
think,
point
as well.
horror. Yeah. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. But thank you, Amy, for joining us. And do check out, I know I'm like a book pusher, Amy's
Thank
books.
you.
Do check them out, Karen.
She's always
She knows.
really leave her alone.
She knows I love a ruler. And do check out, if you haven't, A Taste of Darkness as well, because this is absolutely brilliant. It's got Amy's got a short story in there, Kat Ellis, who's been on Point Horror Book Club, Catherine Foxfield, Dawn, Cynthia, Melinda Salisbury. Oh yeah, so many good people. I could
Thank
go on
you.
and on and on. But thank you. Thank you, Amy, and thank you everyone for joining in as well. Fab comments. And I'll see you next
Thanks.
month.
Bye.
All right, bye. Bye bye.